Yes.
Microphone, Janis. Good morning, Your Holiness, Tachi Deleg. We are very honored and glad to have a chance to make this webinar with you. Thank you. There is auditorium and speakers from the Baltic States and one speaker from United States, New York. In today's capitalist-driven world, where greed seems to dominate our society, and especially politics, we seem to be losing our principles of morality and ethics that derive from such ancient teachings as Buddhism and Christianity. Subject for our today webinar is Moral and Ethics, Today and Tomorrow. Please welcome Your Holiness.
Lithuania. Latvia. Right. Latvia. Yes. Few occasions I have been Latvia. The reason I usually give some teaching, some Russian Buddhist mainly. And then in Delhi, after I give some teaching, some Russian, then one Russian approached to me. You see, there are number of Russian who want to get some teaching from you, but usually, you see, come to India, very expensive. So number of poor Russian, you see, cannot come. You see, that one Russian sort of expression to me, I very much moved. So then I tried to visit Latvia. Number of Russians much easier come to Latvia. And then Latvian people also, you see, very much showing warm feeling. And concerned sort of officials also, you see, take care of me very well. So then, a few years, I think at least 2-3 years, I annually visit the Latvia and give some teaching. And the facility also, you see, provided by local authority, very good, large number of Russians and Mongolians and they come. So my memory about, you see, my visit Latvia is very, very fresh. So I want to express my deep appreciation to your concerned officials and particularly those individual people who really taking care of me. So thank you very much. So now, so now, topic, moral and ethics, today and tomorrow. You see, ethics, of course, according to different religious tradition, then ethic very much related with religious faith. But generally speaking, I always say talking. You see, according Indian tradition, secular, not necessarily related with religious belief. Whether believer or non-believer, that's personal matter, different question. Now here we are talking about the humanity. At practical level, now here on this planet, around 7 billion human beings. We are same human being. We have to live together on this planet. So now, sometimes in the past, you see several years, you see we human beings, you see too much involve violence, war, and a lot of money, time spent for making a weapon. That's unfortunate. We human beings, basically social animal. Now some scientists say social animal because their existence depends on their group. So by birth, social animal, also the sense of community, sense of group, always there. We human being also social animal. So from the childhood, you see, depend our own survival, our own happiness depend on people, the group, firstly family, then your own sort of group, like that. So now, that's basic nature. We have the sense of community or sense of also the friendship. From the childhood, we have. Now sometimes, you see, we see very nature of human being or also the sense of community become lesson. And then a small group, we and they, and then fight, killing. So that thinking, very, also the uncivilized thinking. We are social animal, and particularly now today's world, the entire 7 billion human beings, their future depend on each other. No longer, you see, the strong concept of we and they. We all 7 billion human beings are we. We have to live together, helping each other. So now, ethics, you see, taking sense of concern, of well-being of all our human brothers, sisters. That is the basis of ethics. We are not talking about next life or according to religious believer about God, or for Buddhist about Buddha. You see, that is something individual matter. We, as a human being, you see, we need sense of brotherhood, sisterhood, and we should realize we have to live together on this planet. Then it is much better, happily, friendly, compassionately, like that. So I always was talking we really need wholeheartedness. Now, and now on top of our sort of problem or suffering, now global warming, that also one additional problem. So now such circumstances, now we 7 billion human beings must live together happily. No need to weapon. No, must change the concept of war, fighting, killing. So now we really need, at the practical level also, so we need a peaceful world on the basis of concept oneness of 7 billion human beings. So I believe the Latvian brothers, sisters, you see, you also have great potential make a contribution regarding promotion of oneness of 7 billion human beings and live together and a sense of brotherhood, sisterhood.
에스토니아다, 리투아니아 숨자요리야. 이제 Baltic States 숨요리.
Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, right? So I have been these 3 countries since, you see, childhood. I found read pictorial books, and then there's a book about Second World War. I look, and then Baltic States, 3 Baltic States. The big nations' exploitation. So then later I have the opportunity to visit. I feel very happy. Now things are changing. So now moral ethics is the I think the ultimate source of happiness among the humanity. And I emphasize we need sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. We have to live together on this planet. Now concept of war is outdated. Making weapon, outdated. Waste of money. Like that. So now okay. Now some questions. So sometimes I feel the smaller nation have better opportunity to create peaceful world. Okay. Now some questions, yes?
Thank you, Your Holiness. Now a question comes from Lithuania, Member of Parliament, Mr. Andrius Navickas. Welcome.
My question is, what is the biggest lesson and gift of a pandemic to His Holiness himself? Thank you.
Now, this illness is a number of people suffer. So I'm one of the human beings. So when my human brothers, sisters suffer because of this illness, I feel much concern. And in the meantime, during this period, number of nurses or doctors really dedicated or helping humanity. So I really admire. I'm a Buddhist monk. Daily my prayer, especially think thinking about these, also the patient who got this illness. So I daily prayer, and as a Buddhist monk, I also recite the also Goddess Tara, Om Tare Tudare Turisaha. So many Buddhist brothers, sisters, also you see, you can recite Om Tare Tudare Turisaha. This mantra, very helpful for us for this illness. So,
next question comes from Latvia, Member of Parliament, Deputy Minister of Education and Science, Mr. Reinis Znotiņš. Please welcome.
Your Holiness, I have invested a lot of time thinking about how to unlock the human potential through education. Too many people in our society learn one profession and then stop growing, stop educating, stop developing new skills, especially in older age. However, changing world we live in do require to learn more things, new things. Sometimes it requires to forget what we have learned and learn again. This is especially important in 21st century. Your Holiness, my question is, how to inspire more people in society to lifelong learning and self-development?
Now education, or since we human beings, we have this special brain. So education, very important. So our emotion, as like other animals, same, or the feeling of I, and I want happiness. And any sort of, including human being who create some problem, we consider enemy. That's by nature. Now, use human brain. As I mentioned earlier, entire human being have to live together. So now, no longer relevant, too much thinking, we and they. So now education is key factor. Now in education, we should talk. You should talk more about these basic human value. So in the past, in education also you see talking about my nation, their nation. That I think that thinking is outdated. Now we must think, we human being, entire human being, we have to live together. So through education, we can develop the sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings, and we have to live together. And you see, now here education, modern education mainly oriented about material value. Now here, the Indian ancient education about brain, about mind, and over 3,000 years, India have the tradition, ahimsa, non-violence, and then karuna, compassion. Now these two things now should include in modern education sort of subject. Not talking about religious thing. Simply, now scientists, my mind, very much scientific-minded person, because I study Nalanda tradition. The Buddhist Nalanda tradition always use reason, not belief. Buddha himself, you see, made it clear, all my follower should not accept my teaching out of faith, but rather thorough investigation and experiment. That's a very scientific way. So therefore, I have very close sort of connection with scientists. Now, more and more scientists now thinking about mental health, peaceful mind, not as a religion, but as a part of a question of our health, or physical health, very much related with mental health. Peace of mind automatically, you see, carry peaceful life. So, in order to transform our mind, more peaceful mind, the education very, very, very important. But not talking about God, about Buddha, simply how to build happy humanity, compassionate humanity. These days, I'm sort of talking the physical hygiene, important, but more important, emotional hygiene, or mental hygiene, like that. So, education, very important. Now, in education field, should include education about our mind, about our emotion, and how to give peaceful mind. So that's I usually call mental health. That I think modern education, something lacking. Okay. On scientific basis, some education about how to develop peace of mind. Okay. So I think people showing interest about education is now, compare ancient time, now much developed. Now the point is, in education field itself should include education about mind, about peace of mind. For that, education about human emotion, how to take care about our emotion. So that's a Nalanda tradition is the, I think best material, a very detailed explanation about our mind, and then including our emotion, then how to tackle these destructive emotion. So our modern education field should pay more attention about how to develop peace of mind, not through prayer, but to use human intelligence or human awareness. Okay.
Thank you, Your Holiness. Next question from ex-member of Parliament of Latvia and also chairman of Tibet Support Group in the Parliament, Riga City Council member, Mr. Dāvis Stalts. Please welcome.
Your Holiness, it is a great honor to meet you and to ask you a question. Also, I'm sending you greetings from the smallest nation of Europe called Livonians, still living in Latvia. So my question is, why so often mankind chooses cowardice and hope that somebody else will solve their problems, then stand for a light against darkness themselves, especially in politics, where the lust of money and power is dominant? Thank you.
Now, till I think recent, you see, the political power, military power is something dominant. Now that gradually now changing. So I think the now democracy, and I think genuine, meaningful democracy now gradually coming. And as the socialist country, you see, socialism, thinking about public, particularly poor people. If socialism just taking name and real or taking care about power, not that kind of socialism, but genuine socialism, taking care about people, particularly the poorer section of people, and try to reduce gap rich and poor. So now I feel today's world compare past century, I think things are, I think, improving. In the past, power considered something very important. Now gradually changing. So now genuine socialist thinking. So you yourself take full care, not sort of waiting some kind of order. No, everybody work together and think also the well-being of all people, and especially poorer section of people, work together. Now we really need genuine socialism based on moral ethics. Yes, I think really now need. I feel that way. Okay.
Thank you, Your Holiness. Next question from member of Riga City Council, Mr. Walters Berg. Please welcome.
Hello, my questions. But do you value more the intelligence of emotions or the mind?
Feeling or experience is part of our mind or emotion. So, as I mentioned earlier, according to the Nalanda tradition, very detailed explanation about main mind and what called, I think, something like sub-mind. So there are very detailed explanation. So feeling is part of mind. Mind is the general name, and then within the mind there are so many different kind of minor, or say mind, including experience, and also wisdom, part of our mind. So now it is important, you see, to study, to get some lesson, not as a religious matter, but simply knowledge about our inner world. So there are some good books. Here in India, some Tibetan school now already started to study, you see, about mind, about sub-mind, or these things. So that not as a religious subject, simply, or today, our knowledge, and secondly, you see, with fuller knowledge about the system of mind, emotion, then we have more ability to tackle destructive emotion and increase constructive emotion. Not talking about as a religion, simply how to become peaceful or calm mind person. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Your Holiness. Next question from representative of the Latvian Buddhist community, Mr. Helmuts Ansants. Please welcome.
Your Holiness, in Latvia, we are trying to be really good 21st century Buddhists, and therefore we try to study in a systematic way works of great Buddhist masters like Lamrin Chenmo by Lama Tsongkhapa, Bodhicharya Avatara by Shantideva. But certainly this pandemic time, it shows that it's time more for practice to apply what we have learned. And therefore, my question is, how in this period of time when we are faced with so much of a hypocrisy, infringements of freedom of speech, which we see from some state and political leaders, from certain big tech companies, social platforms, and even mainstream media. So how do we, in practical terms, being 21st century Western Buddhists, approach this situation? Thank you.
As I mentioned earlier, in the past, you see, the power dominant people. Now that gradually now diminishing. So it's truly now become we individual human being as your own master. As Buddha says, you are your own master. So we should utilize all your own power, not depend on other sort of order or propaganda. Simply use your own wisdom, your own mind, thinking. For that, more study. So these distorted information, and then some restriction about freedom of speech. Now these gradually now changing. So public education, through education, more knowledge, then you see, as I mentioned earlier, we really now create democratic socialist the community. So now I feel I'm now quite old person. Now I know, I notice First World War, Second World War, like that, and I have sort of contact a lot of sort of the different, friend or different field, including science. So overall, things are changing better because basically education much important. Then you see the information. Now today, someone you say wants something to telling or to do something different, but the televisions or personal mobiles. So now you see everywhere. You see the source of information. There are now under such circumstances, you see people who want to distort information. Eventually, they themselves become disgrace or telling liar. So even big nations, you see, lying. Now people getting more information, so things are changing. I feel within my lifetime, I think because of education, because of information, and wider sort of contact with each other, so I think things are much improving, I feel. Okay.
Thank you, Your Holiness. Next question from United States, New York. Executive Director and founder of the We Can Save Children Foundation, United Nations Economic and Social Council representative, Grammy laureate Hollywood actor, Mr. Vincent Lin. Please welcome.
Thank you. I'm deeply humbled and honored to be here and want to thank Your Holiness. My question for Your Holiness, how do you think we can move forward as human beings, respecting each other's beliefs, and while still championing peace and human rights that not everyone sees as universal? Thank you.
As I already mentioned, you see, whether we like it or not, we have to live together on this planet. And you see, concept of different nation, different religion, different color is secondary. Secondary. Now, important is we are human beings. We have to live together. So that's the reality. Then now here, the gap rich and poor, this is also very, very unfortunate. We have to think, we have to work, reduce this gap rich and poor. Economically, poor people automatically less opportunity study or doing something. So as I mentioned earlier, socialism is, I think, wonderful. Now, meantime, socialism based on moral principle. So you see, I think things are changing better, because we gain more experience and more knowledge. So I'm optimistic. So still, you see, I feel, as I mentioned earlier, education, or younger generation, or student, you see, they should get right information, realistic information, and build a sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. The different nation, different religion, these are secondary. Important is oneness of 7 billion human beings. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Holiness. Now back to Latvia. Question from Lutheran pastor, Brother Pavel. Please welcome.
Your Holiness, it is a great honor for me to be here and ask a question. Today, it is often said that traditional religions will be forced to transform in the face of rapid change in society. What do you think? What is the future of ancient spiritual traditions, Christianity and Buddhism in the 21st century? Thank you.
Yes. Now one example, among Buddhist community, now through more awareness and including more knowledge about science, then the old thinking. You see, without much thinking about reason, but just faith. So among Buddhists also, you see now things are changing. Some of our traditional sort of way of practice now more modernized Buddhist now thinking, questioning. So similarly, our religious brothers, sisters, Muslims and Christians also, you see, now time come, you see, we have to think more intellectual level, not just carry faith like that. So, so things are changing. These days, I give some teaching about Buddhism. I never sort of repeat the old way of sort of teaching. Many things take for granted. Now that's no longer there. So you Christian brothers, sisters, also you see now should think more scientific way, and all religion main sort of message is loving kindness. God itself, I think Christianity, I feel God is like our Father, the creator of whole world. So that creator as our Father, compassionate sort of being. So we are children of that kind of Father. So we all children of the loving kind sort of Father. So we should develop genuine sort of sense of brotherhood, sisterhood. We have to live together. And there are different philosophy, different concept. That is within one religion, there are some different sort of explanation or different views. But more the important thing is because of the loving kindness. So all religion, you see, same message. Use different philosophy, different concept. So all major religious tradition, on that basis, we can work together. In the philosophical field, there are differences, but all carry message of loving kindness, same. And Christian brothers, sisters, you see, your life, contentment. So these are real sort of message of our religious practice, like that. So I don't think, you see, time change now, 21st century, I think these basic religious sort of concept, I think still very much relevant. Some ritual or that now sometimes necessary to change. In Tibetan Buddhist tradition, too much ritual, I feel meaningless. I really feel like that. So Christian brothers, Muslim brothers, also you see too much sort of ritual thing. That I think now I think should think reduce. And then I think one of my commitment is promotion of religious harmony. So I respect all different religious tradition because all carry same message of love that we human beings need. and a different concept, different philosophy is individual matter, like that. Okay.
Thank you, Your Holiness. And there's a couple of questions from my side. In Latvian schools, the teachings of ethics is in the first 3 grades and not in all schools. In today's stressful time, when morality and ethics have to contend with hypocrisy, how important would it be for children to lay the foundations of ethics in every school and by the end of it? Because what will the world be like without ethics and morals? Thank you.
As I already mentioned, basic human nature is more compassionate because we are a social animal. Sense of community and sense of concern of our community. So therefore, you see, that is the basis of all religions. So we should take the essence, the philosophical view. There is Creator, there is God. Buddha say no God. That's something. The method. The important is all different religious traditions carry same message of love, message of forgiving, where the practice of genuine loving kindness, then forgiveness automatically come. So therefore, now in education, you see, more explanation about peace of mind, then these different religious traditions, you see, also carry same message. So different philosophy is according different, also the tradition or different sort of cultural heritage. You see, you need that different kind of explanation. But the essence is all religion is same. Now, I really learned and admire India, one of the most populated nation. And as a matter of fact, all different religious traditions of this world together here, of mutual respect and mutual learning. So I think whole world, we can live together and a different religious tradition, mutual respect, like that. So, like our next neighbor, like Syria, and also to some extent Afghanistan, in this area, even you see same Muslim, but again you see make distinction, also the Sunni and Shia. These are due to lack of contact and a little bit narrow-minded. Look, India is example. All different traditions and non-believer, we have to live together. So much better mutual respect. So we can so the more compassionate work is the basis of all religious message. So without that, humanity will never be happy community. So sense of brotherhood, sisterhood on the basis of as a kind heart, not as a religious matter, but in order to be a happy person happy community, happy family. So these are basic value. So these are we can propagate or improve through education. Okay.
Thank you, Your Holiness. Next question is, how to distinguish between what is at your capacity to change and accept the things that are not?
Now, one great Indian Buddhist master, he stated, when we face some problem, some difficulties, analyze the factors, reasons, causes, these things. And then through investigation, if there is possibility to overcome, then try make every effort with full confidence. If the situation impossible to overcome, then no need to worry, just accept. So like that, so suffering, for example, suffering or something, if there's a way to overcome, then you must make effort. If there's no way to overcome, then you should accept. Okay.
Thank you, Your Holiness. Next question is, how can we find our inspiration and true purpose in our life?
그래서 as I mentioned earlier, I believe basic human nature is good thing, more compassionate, because we are a social animal. So our first experience, as soon as we're born, mother sort of taking care is our real sort of first experience. So our life started with mother's compassion. So therefore, and then now, according to our scientific sort of research, scientific sort of view, peace of mind is, you see, key factor for healthy, healthy body. So through education, we can teach people you should have warm-heartedness. Religious belief is a personal matter. The Indian word secular ethics, without religion, simply be warm-hearted person. That's secular ethics. Okay. Then next.
Thank you, Your Holiness. Question is, what is the relation between physical and mental wellness, and how do we obtain a balance of both?
Now, I have some great scholar about brain. Some extent, you see, those brain specialists, you see, can explain. But at the same time, there is something which affects our brain. That's what we call mind or emotion. So now we have to deal about mind. So now, peace of mind is very important. So, so now here we should know what emotion which mainly destroyer of our peace of mind is anger, with too much self-centered attitude, selfish, or then fear. These things happen. So the basis of peace of mind is more compassionate. So now for that, more altruism. As I already mentioned, now idea of socialism very much based on altruism. If not so political or some other power matter, simply, honestly, socialist sort of the system. Think about well-being of all human beings, particularly working class people and poor people. So the more think, so the well-being of other well-being, then automatically you get more inner peace, inner strength. With that concept, wherever you go, just met another human being as a human being, as my brother, as my sister. If I too much emphasis what is their religion, what is their nationality, what is their economic condition, then a lot of complications. Don't think these things simply as soon as I met one human being, two eyes, one mouth, and particularly with mouth, more smiling face, I feel very happy. I never think what is their religion, what is their nationality, what is their social status, these things. So the concept of oneness of human being is very important. And then basic human nature is more compassionate. Our life, as I mentioned earlier, starts as soon as we're born, taking care by someone else. And then at the end of our life, I think, I feel, you also I think should feel, at the time of dying, you're surrounded by a best friend, really showing concern, sympathy, you feel happy. At the time of death, some people who are suppose your friend, actually friend of your wealth and political reason, and then these are artificial. So you see people who really thinking your money, and then at the time of your dying, some people surrounding you, you see, their main sort of thinking is how to get some wealth from that dying person. No human warm feeling. This is a modern society. Now we really need a genuine, sympathetic, compassionate human friend. Okay. Next.
Thank you, Your Holiness. Next question is, patience is very difficult to practice. How should we cultivate our patience? Thank you.
As I already mentioned briefly, when things you see face, some difficult things you see face, we have to analyze. And then, if there is a way to overcome, then should make more effort with full courage. If there is no way to overcome, then accept. like that. So our way of life should be realistic way. In order to, know the reality, we should not sort of remain on the surface, but we must study more, investigation. Since we have this special brain, we have the power to analyze, so we must utilize that. So then, so our brain, very important. Meantime, the mind, which affects the brain, also equally very, very important. So we, in education field, we should include study about psychology, about mind. That's Indian tradition. The more explanation about emotion, about mind, and with the fuller knowledge of these different emotions, then also thorough explanation how to tackle, how to increase altruism, how to control destructive emotion, like that. Although these come from religious texts, we should consider these are simply knowledge about our mind, about our health, not as a religious sort of matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Holiness. And last question is, how can one overcome the emotional hardships due to the prolonged duration of the COVID-19 pandemic?
I already mentioned when we face kasa choshi yorbe. As already I mentioned, when some difficult, including illness, come, analyze whether there is a way to overcome, then make work hard, with full confidence. If there is no way to overcome, then don't worry, accept the reality. So now we have to utilize human intelligence, and also we need more information, like kasa kabadas through mobiles or these things. Something happen. You don't remain just to worry. No. Investigation, and listen. Different advice. Thoroughly investigate. Our brain fully utilize. Then no way to overcome. Then accept. So now, modern time, we have the source of information is now much sort of available. Very good. In ancient time, one villager in a remote place, something happened, then they simply worry. And sometimes to pray to God. Now, today, modern world, we have a lot of sort of source of information and study, like that. Okay.
Thank you, Your Holiness. And finally, Member of Parliament and Chairman of Tibet Support Group in the Parliament of Latvia, Mr. Uldis Budritis, with vote of thanks. Please welcome Mr. Budritis.
Yes, thank you, Your Holiness. It's truly a great honor, and I'm truly humbled. I think on behalf of everyone here, I can thank you for today. I think this meeting is about spreading a message of hope, a message of tranquility, compassion, as you said, and peace, and friendship. Even though we are on the other side of the globe, we can celebrate this. As chair of the Latvian Parliament's Friendship Group for Tibet, and I think on behalf of my Baltic colleagues and everyone here, I would want to state that you have friends here, Tibetans have friends here, and we understand the struggle by which Tibetans have to live day by day. We had the same situation years ago, as you know, and you mentioned briefly earlier. This means being stripped away from the fundamental freedoms that we somehow take for granted on an everyday basis. I would want to tell that on a political level, we support the need for a dialogue in a sense that the peoples of Tibet get their constitutional right of true, and in this sense, I mean true autonomy. But we received your message, we hear you, we learn from you, and as you see us here, we stand one and united in favor and in support of freedoms and mindfulness and especially your teachings. So thank you again very much for this meeting and the opportunity. And thank you for educating and for sounding the bells of freedom and peace to everyone. And all in all, making the world a better place day by day. And lastly, I hope that one day, the day will come that we will be able to strengthen this friendship on the grounds of free Tibet. Thank you very much, Your Holiness. I'm truly honored and humbled. Thank you.
Thank you. I very much appreciate you really showing your sense of concern about Tibet. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Now,
Your Holiness, for your time.
Now, you see the political matter about, I think 10 years, I completely retired. Now I carry, regarding Tibet, I carry the main responsibility to preserve Tibetan culture. I may say, mainly Buddhist culture. Now that Buddhist culture originally come from Nalanda since 8th century. I think since 7th century, the Tibetan emperor, you see, very close link with Chinese emperor and marry with Chinese princess. But sometimes I have joke. You see, the 7th century's Tibetan king, he married with Chinese princess. So naturally, he, I think, enjoy Chinese food. But when he saw Chinese letter, he felt too complicated. So he decided to create our own letter, alphabet, or copy from Indian Devanagari, script. So he very independent mind. So he developed our own language with script. Then 8th century, Tibetan king, you see, judging Chinese Buddhism and then different sort of Buddhist tradition. And he found Nalanda tradition is best. So he invited one, at that time, the top, was the most scholar, Shanda Rakshita, great logician, great philosopher. He invited, and he introduced Buddhism in Tibet. He mentioned, since you have your own language, your own script, so now instead of study Sanskrit or Pali, now should translate these great Buddhist teaching, Buddhist teaching, and Nalanda sort of teachers sort of writing, should translate into Tibetan. As his sort of effort, his guidance. Now, since then, we already have about 100 volumes of Buddha's own word, all translated into Tibetan. Then, about 200 volumes translated from Indian Nalanda masters like Nagarjuna, Arya Sangha, and then on special significance, the Shanda Rakshita himself, great logician. So we translate very important logical text of logic. In Chinese Buddhist text, they not much pay attention about logic. So only available in Tibetan language. So like Dignak and the Dharmakirti, now these, they are sort of logical text, all available in Tibetan. So I myself, since childhood, I learned the logical approach. We always to see like debate. The system of debate is when we start some topic and we always want to something wrong answer from them, then we feel very happy to debate. If the answer person who gives the answer is always something right thing, then you have no opportunity much sort of debate like that. So therefore, I think now today's world, among the Buddhist country, our knowledge much based on logical approach. So our knowledge, most profound Buddhist tradition. So my main concern is, it is not only has a Tibetan sort of value, it is a value of humanity. We should preserve this knowledge. Then, and for study these things, Tibetan language is best language to describe these things. The Pali tradition, they mostly, you see, Buddha's teaching. So usually you see everything Buddha says yes, Buddha say yes. That's Pali tradition. Nalanda tradition, even Buddha's own sort of word, we raise question, why Buddha say that? Then investigate. If through investigation, if we find some contradiction, then we have right to reject Buddha's own word. Like the Nalanda master, like Nagarjuna, there's a number of Buddha's own teaching, raise question and reject. So our tradition, like that, always you see important the logical approach. So that now I feel, you see, the logical approach. This is something very important. I may share with you. Sometimes I jokingly telling some my Buddhist friend from Thailand, from Burma. Sometimes, since we know very well each other, so I have deep respect these monks from Pali tradition. Sometimes I jokingly telling them, you are Buddhist monk, Buddha student, wonderful, but you not use logical approach. So always say, oh, Buddha said that, Buddha said that. But Nalendra, our tradition, logical approach. So you see, you have no teeth. If something hard subject, then you cannot sort of tackle. Since we have the study of logical approach, so we have teeth. Hard subject come. Without teeth, then it remain like that. So, Tibetan tradition, as a ancient Tibetan master, you see, we very much emphasize logic. So, today, I think among the Buddhist country, only Tibetan, we have this serious logical approach. So therefore, Tibetan Buddhist tradition is really important to keep, to preserve. And then for that, as I mentioned earlier, Tibetan language is the best language to explain these things. So my commitment is preservation of Tibetan language, Tibetan Buddhist knowledge, except including Buddhist logic, very important. Then another, my commitment regarding Tibet is ecology. Tibet, the source of water, at least Asia, most of river which cover China, Vietnam, and India, you see these major river, they ultimately come from Tibet. So Tibetan ecology is very important. That's one my commitment. So there are some Chinese company, too much exploitation, nature resources, without much concern about ecology. I publicly criticize that. And even you see one former Chinese Prime Minister, Zhou Rongqing, he also, you see, give order, some Tibetan area, or forest area, should stop cutting forest. So we should pay serious attention about preservation of Tibetan ecology. These are my commitment. Then regarding the political matter, we are not seeking independence or separation. We, look
1974.
1974, we decided we willing remain within the People's Republic of China. That also, you see, China, very rich country, so they can provide us more money. Now already in China, number of Buddhists, 7 million Buddhists, they're already there. So we can help them. So they give us money, we give them Buddhist teaching. Okay, So now already some publication which made here, like I said, the books for Buddhist science, like that. So Chinese translation also there, English translation. So some university in China, you see, have the opportunity to see, to saw, you see, these books. Then some of these professors express Tibetan Buddhism is true Nalanda tradition and a very scientific sort of religion. So a number of now Chinese scholars pay more attention. And basically, as I mentioned earlier, in China, a lot of Buddhists, so increasing. So as a mutual benefit, economically, our benefit, culture, and especially Buddha Dharma, you see, we can help them. So we decided we remain part of People's Republic of China. Meanwhile, I always say, we need meaningful autonomy. They just, sometimes you see some narrow-minded Chinese communist authority. They even usually try to eliminate Tibetan language. It's very silly. It's a must preserve Tibetan knowledge in Tibetan language. So it is a benefit for humanity. And no question, Buddhist country, and particularly Chinese Buddhist. So now things are changing. China itself, the authoritarian, too tight authoritarian system, now gradually now changing. Sometimes I sort of express Chinese communist authoritarian system, and we Tibetan Buddhist tradition, long run Buddhist tradition will remain, authoritarian system will go. Like that. So therefore, regarding Tibet, I have full sort of hope. Okay. So Tibetan culture and Tibetan Buddhist knowledge, and with that, Tibetan language and Tibetan ecology, these are my commitment. So, number of people, lot of Latvian friend, really showing interest in these things. I very much appreciate. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Your Holiness, for your time. Thanks everybody here and His Holiness London office for support this webinar and technical support from His Holiness office in Dharamsala. We all hope to see you soon in physical life, not only virtual. Thank you again.